Hello, I'm Sam Sims. I'm the Chief Executive of the charity National Numeracy that supports people to feel confident about using numbers and maths in everyday life. A huge welcome and thank you to Ching He Huang, the internationally renowned and inspirational chef and food writer, for joining me today for a big number natter. To start with, positive or negative, what is the one word that best describes how you feel about maths?
Oh, thanks so much, Sam, for having me. You know, Maths is not my strong subject. It never was. So I'm afraid we're kicking off with a bit of a negative, but not to discourage anyone. I think there's a lot of positives to just keep trying. Even if maths is not your natural forte, it certainly wasn't mine growing up. I had to work quite hard at it, but I had a great maths teacher who instilled a lot of confidence, and she was brilliant. So whichever way I think you find your way or confidence through to maths, I would say, keep going.
Great, thank you, Ching. And you mentioned there a maths teacher that maybe inspired you and got you interested and engaged. Tell us a little bit more about the attitudes or the approach of the adults around you as a child that shaped how you now feel about maths.
I think it's so important. You know, my maths teacher, Mrs. Tong, I still remember her. She was super friendly, very encouraging, had a strict edge to her, but she had a lot of knowledge, and she was very kind and patient in directing us. It wasn't, it just didn't come naturally to myself, certainly. And she was brilliant. It was the way that she taught maths as well to get our attention. So I remember at GCSE, it was, on for like C, predicted C grade, etc. Managed to get a B, which was good. And actually, it was her encouragement that actually made me think, right, I can do this. And I ended up choosing maths at A levels, which, again, was completely out of my comfort zone. But she just instilled so much confidence to not give up. And I think that's the most important thing, is to, in anything in life, it's not just in maths. I think this is just in general. Anything you're not naturally good at, I think it's worth figuring it out. It's worth giving it a go, 100%. You'll reap the rewards later. And I think this is something that we all tend to go the easy route. But if you don't sometimes go the other route, the difficult route, how will you know? How will you improve and how will you grow? And I think that is the key. At university, I went on to study economics, and I remember two of my university friends. I sought their help, at university. And again, they were brilliant ladies, young ladies, very bright, intelligent, and I leaned on them for help. And, I ended up getting a first-class degree in economics. Don't ask me anything about maths equations or anything like that now. Gosh, I won't remember, But I have a big calculator. I always have this on my desk.
Great.
For when I'm doing recipe testing or things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's my experience with maths.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Ching. It's fascinating, and I think that's such an important message. That being able to lean on those around you for support, and how important that is to help, and also to help build your confidence. And you talked there about your teacher, who you mentioned that kind of being patient with you, being kind, being encouraging, and you talked about the importance of building your confidence, and a teacher that supported you to build that confidence. And look, how you've described it, where it's taken you, and the influence that's had on you. And I know after completing your studies in economics initially, and you went on and you started your own business. I'm interested in if you can think back to that experience, that initial experience, how everyday numeracy skills came into came into that in terms of setting up and building your business?
So I then launched from uni into a food business, a catering food business. At that time, I was putting together, units like boxes of noodles, right? And I was trying to get these into the retailers, and they would ask, well, how much does this pot of noodles cost, for us to put it in the shops? And I had to work out things like how much the noodle cost, how much some cucumber costs, and the grams, to make a meal, basically how much the unit cost was. And so, of course, that's where maths came in. But I remember going into a meeting with a buyer who was interested in stocking it and said, gosh, okay, so the margin on return, how much we're going to earn from one pot of your noodles is X. And I said, excuse me? And I just thought, what is margin on return? And you will learn, all these terms in business and etc. And so I literally gave him a calculator. I was too embarrassed to say I didn't know what he was talking about. I gave him a calculator and said, can you just show me how you calculated it? And I wrote it down. And I figured out that. I figured that part out, the puzzle, by going home and just working out the maths myself. Had I not asked him to do that, I don't think I would have progressed any more. So I think the thing is, with your campaign, which is so brilliant and important, anyone wanting to start their own business, whether it's, wanting to take up maths at GCSE or going on to do it as, an A levels, or go on to do it as a degree or doing an apprenticeship or whatever, I think the key is, do not be afraid. If it's difficult, not your natural forte, just dive in, ask for help, and your platform is perfect for people to seek that and to start the conversation and in supporting each other. And I think that's what's brilliant, is asking for help when you don't know, especially when it's not naturally something you're naturally good at.
Fantastic, thank you, Ching. So having the confidence to ask for help and persevering, these are sort of key, so important. And speaking to people actually who have all sorts of different feelings towards numbers in our work, we know that's absolutely key for so many people. So it's a great message to share with everybody. And you mentioned the National Numeracy platform. If you're interested, anybody listening and finding out more, go just search National Numeracy Day, and you can find a load of resources, fun activities to be able to get started, like I say, however you feel about numbers and maths. And Ching, you're now a hugely successful chef and food writer. How nowadays, how are you finding that you're working with numbers in your life and in your role and in your work?
Well, it's important when you're putting together recipes that you get the proportions right, in terms of, the amount of teaspoons, tablespoons, of X, Y, Z. And many times if I'm working in America, they will ask me, or could you do this in, convert it into pounds, for example, which is what they use over there. So, it's very interesting, the conversions and getting all that right. So certainly maths is every day part of my work. Sometimes I get it wrong, and that's a misprint. 2 teaspoons there, 2 tablespoons of spices. Test and test again. But I enjoy it now. I don't see maths as so difficult, in everyday life, and that's really because of the learning, the right education, the right teacher, the right friends, the right support, and asking for help. And I'm definitely much more confident. So I would say just dive in, and any subject, as I mentioned before, that you're not naturally good at, I would just say, go for it, because you will find that actually practice makes perfect. And it's the same with cooking. You do a recipe once and could be awful, same with me. And then you try again, and lo and behold, you get the perfect chow mein or General Tso's. the world is your oyster sauce. So just keep practicing.
That is a wonderful message. Thank you, Ching. And you've talked about there, trying again when things don't work out. And so finally, I wanted to ask you, we talk about the fact when it comes to everyday numeracy, practice and making mistakes is all part of that learning journey, as you've talked about. Have you had any particular maths mishaps in or out of the kitchen that you're willing to share with us?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's, I think someone wrote when I first started when I first cooked on TV and I handed a recipe in. I think this was for Great Food Live, the show, and someone wrote in and said, "Oh, I put like 2 tablespoons of black pepper in Ching's like Taiwanese steak." I still remember it because it was quite a big deal for me, not to make a mistake. But I then looked at the sort of online editor forwarded me the email. I had a look and I thought, oh my gosh, yeah, that's wrong. That's not 2 tablespoons. It's literally 2 pinches of black pepper. So yeah, I'm so sorry to that person. We did write to you. I still am very, very sorry. And and I hope we rectified that very quickly. So I'm sorry you ruined your steak. But there's things like that all the time, and of course you got to check. But hey, life is like that, right? You make mistakes, you learn, you grow, and next time you'll be much more mindful.
That is a great message to close on, Ching. Thank you, and thank you so much for joining me today for a big number natter to mark National Numeracy Day. It's a huge pleasure to have you join this and to join the conversation, to join the big number natter. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sam. Love to all. And keep counting.